the melodious tones. Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tiny Hand Evan and Aaron Show presents the Red and the Blue Soccer Chat, brought to you by good friend of the pod. We're waving right now. She's not looking. That's okay. Dude, this is the end of the season podcast, and we have a lot but very little to talk about in some ways. I'm just happy to be here with you tonight, my brother. It is a gorgeous, sultry, it is very much a Marilyn Monroe night in Indiana. It's a gorgeous but sultry night tonight. So, my brother, how have you been this past week? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
A little something for Evan.
A little something. Thank you. How you been, man?
You know, I can't really complain a whole lot. Good end of the season for United. Got things to look forward to as far as one more game. It is a little bit daunting, but there's a trophy available, and we're going to compete for it, and hopefully at the same time kind of spoil a bit of a party.
Hey, there you go.
And then after that, I'm going on vacation for a little bit for my 10th anniversary.
Hey, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can we inquire? I mean, you don't have to give the address, because if so, we might show up with some video cameras. Anyway, where are you headed?
We are going to Key West, Florida.
Bucket list item for me.
I haven't been since I was a kid, and Amy hasn't been since college.
Wow.
So,
Excellent.
We're actually going to be adults in Key West, which might be a bad idea.
Being adults in Key West usually means, childlike behavior.
But
so
our plan is to eat a lot of seafood, drink a lot of boat drinks, and be merry in the way you're supposed to be married.
Yes.
And have a little fun. And we've got a really nice restaurant picked out for our anniversary dinner.
Okay.
Got some good plans, so I'm looking forward to it.
Buffett going to be down there at all, do you think? Or maybe?
Well, the spirit of Jimmy Buffett is there 24/7. But no, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I'll probably try to stay out of Margaritaville. It's a bit cheesy. I'm definitely a Captain Tony's kind of guy.
Yes, absolutely. Captain Tony's. Yeah, I tell you, that's going to be great, dude. I'm glad you guys are going.
I'm looking forward to it. So let's jump in here.
Oh.
And I feel like, it's been a tough time to be a Chelsea fan this year, but man, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. The way Bowley came in and took the team over, it was sort of a forced takeover in a lot of ways. Yeah. And therefore, I'm going to say he wasn't able to assemble everybody on his team that he wanted. He was forced to take over.
Sure.
Asked for help from Tuchel, and then that didn't go well. And I think everything from that point forward really went downhill.
Yes.
And I think everybody involved didn't really acknowledge the depth of the issue that was going to be facing the club. Yeah. So I want to get your overall thoughts on just the season itself.
Yeah.
And then I think we each have, kind of the same 5 questions or so for each other,
right,
as far as, who did we think was our player of the season? Who's most improved? Who really needs to go? Who would you like to see realistically come in?
Yeah.
And probably what's your prediction or goal, if you will, for the team for next season. So just give me your thoughts on Chelsea real quick.
Yeah, man. I think one of the things, just thinking about the show tonight and thinking about what I wanted to say, I'm glad you asked this overall question about Chelsea. I think we learned a couple of things this year. I think, number one, we learned, especially because of the way
only a police says.
It's like,
bad hand.
Yeah, bad hand. We learned that Thomas Tuchel is a good manager. Mm-hmm. We learned he is a good manager by, people, they were like, Bayern, and he comes in at Bayern, and they almost lose the league to Dortmund, I'm not sure they almost lost it. I think they were just going through a transition, and Tuchel was able to say, okay, guys, we know who we are now. Let's go out and let's do this thing. And it just put a lot of pressure on Dortmund to win. So I think we found out how good he is and how good he can be. I think that the transition from Abramovich to Bowley was incredibly difficult. I can't imagine coaching the last third of an EPL season, not knowing who's the captain, captain of the ship, like ultimate captain of the ship. It's like, okay, I'm making these decisions and I'm trying to keep us at this point, and Tuchel did a great job. I think he did as good a job as you could expect him to do. So that's number one for me. Congrats, Thomas Tuchel. Thank you for sticking with Chelsea as long as we're able to do and also do the things that you needed to do to keep us where we were, at least competitive. When Tuchel was fired, you said it. I think that at that point in the season, we bring in Graham Potter. Graham Potter looked like the golden child.
We need to fire our graphics intern.
Oh, what happened? Oh my!
I was just late getting it turned on.
He was the golden child, the next up as far as to be the next new thing, the up and coming manager. He had took a Brighton and Hove squad that was barely fighting for relegation to a point to where now. He put together this squad. He didn't coach them, but now he put together a squad that now is in European football for next year. So it's a testament to him, but it's also indicative of the turmoil that Chelsea had because of the turnover, because of everything that was going on, and instead of solidifying people's positions, the guys' positions, because this is what I think Ten Hag did so well at Man U. You are this, and this is what you're going to do, Sancho. This is what you're going to do, Fernandez. This is exactly what you're going to do. He put people in places where they could make plays because he gave them roles. I'm not sure Potter ever got the chance to do that because Bowley kept buying and buying and buying and buying and having more and more people added to the roster. So
an already full roster.
At that. And so I think that instead of being able to find out, that core, Potter was having to try this combination and that combination and this combination and that combination and never really settled on, okay, these are my guys. These are the guys we need to go with. Which brings us, to Poch. I mean, I'm just going to skip over Frank. But it brings us to Poch. I'm not excited yet. I'm hopeful. So I think that with Chelsea, we finished this season almost like if you were driving a car and you are out of gas and you're just hoping to, drift into the driveway on fumes. We did that. We hit our driveway. We're in fumes. Okay, we've got to walk to the nearest, gas station, get some gas so we can drive some. But I think that ending the season the way we did, and not finishing deeper in the table as we did, is a testament to the Chelsea Football Club itself. The air that's around Chelsea. Chelsea is one of the big ones. They're one of the, just like we need a solid Man U, we need a solid Chelsea in this league. And I think that came into play at the very end of the season. So I think that throughout the entire season, and remember, those of you who are watching, we sat right here, and at the beginning of last season, said it was going to be this, and it was this. And I was hesitant to say we'd finish in the top half, just because that's just the way things were going, man. But I think you said the best thing, and I'm going to end on this, is that sometimes it's hard to be a fan. but you still are a fan.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I'm looking forward. I think Poch is coming in, and I think he's going to give us a really good idea of who he wants early, and I've got some notes about that. We'll cover that later, but that's my overall view of Chelsea this year. Were they a disappointment? When you weigh in all the factors that were against them, I think you saw this coming. I think you saw disarray. I think you saw a team that didn't quite know who it was. And so from that point, it's like, it's par for the course. So that's my thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you had as many players on the roster to start the season, that was always going to be an issue. Bringing in more guys, new guys that, I mean, really in both windows, I don't necessarily see a lot of big picture plan, like, oh, we're buying these kinds of guys to create this kind of system. And I think what was even worse was to bring in a guy like Aubameyang, which in and of itself you can criticize that, but the thinking was, here's a guy who at his best is a pretty good striker, proven in the Premier League and world football, and at least can play that traditional number 9 role in a way that really nobody else at the club can right now. But you bought him specifically to come play for Thomas Tuchel, and then a week later, Tuchel's gone. I think it's just indicative of how difficult it is to run a club at this level, and even more so when you're hamstrung by, look, I don't know how long Todd Boehly was interested in buying Chelsea, but I know that the whole process was sort of forced, England said, hey, Abramovich, you can no longer own things in England because, your country invaded another sovereign nation.
Right.
I understand that. I understand the motivation behind that. So I don't remember all the machinations of how Boehly got involved and how he became the front runner and things like that. But it was always going to be disruptive. There was always going to be some issue. And I think, I do think Tuchel's a good manager.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the kind of personality that you need to sort of say, I'm representing this club, and this club has to be respected. I think, the parallel to that is we've seen what happened to United over the last several years.
Yeah.
And finally a guy like Ten Hag comes in, and maybe it's coincidence because I believe Jose Mourinho and Louis van Gaal are both tremendous managers and take no guff.
Sure.
But something about how Ten Hag went about it was clearly what was missing for the last few years, and I don't think Tuchel was about that. You hear some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that was going on, that he didn't want to be involved in helping out in the process of recruiting players and things of that nature. I think it just made it more difficult for everybody involved, and it's not really a criticism of him per se, because in a lot of ways you don't ask that of people.
Wow, you never do that in a bar. Never do that in a bar.
So let's move on to who do you think was in a city of hardship? A city of hardship. Clearly reading your notes.
Wow.
A season of hardship.
Yeah.
Who was your standout player? Who was your MVP just who was the guy at the club that you thought, even on our worst days, he's still wearing that badge with pride?
Timo Werner. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel bad for Timo Werner.
I do. Yeah. Did pretty good at Leipzig this year, so it's good.
Well, he's where he belongs at a club at that level.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to say.
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
This was hard. This was really, really tough for me to come to an agreement with myself. There are 2 players, and I chose one.
Thank you, JoJo.
I chose one because of the shit show that the defense was this year, and I chose the other because of his engine. I'm going to say it's a tie between Kepa and Gallagher. Gallagher, I love the guy. I love how hard he plays, how tough he plays. Yes, he makes mistakes. Absolutely, he makes mistakes. But the guy brings something to the game when he's in there. He brings that extra just kind of unpredictable type of, oh, I'm going to intercept this pass, or I'm going to get in the way here. Who knows what's going to happen when I stick my foot up and it pops the ball up? You know, that type of unpredictable. And I think that, you know, throughout the middle, I think Gallagher is just, I love Conor Gallagher. I just do. And I think he's a hard player. I think he embodies what we need at Chelsea. I think we need that hustle. We need that drive. We need that person with the motor. And as much as I wish that could have been Christian Pulisic, I think Conor Gallagher, for right now, fits that bill for Chelsea. I also say Kepa because... and I'm going to talk about Koulibaly here. I really liked how Koulibaly stepped up and kind of tried to fill that void as far as being that enforcer, you know, in the defense. But Kepa had to make so many saves this season. It's incredible. You know, so I think that it would be real easy if, you know, you think let's think back to, you know, the missed PK. You know, it would be really easy to allow that to continue to be in your psyche from last year. I think that Kepa did a good job coming back, getting prepared for this season. And I think he's our regular tender. I think he's good. He's good. So, as hard as that was for me, those two are my pick for, you know, players of the year.
Do you know who the club chose?
I do not.
Thiago Silva.
And the reason why I did not pick Thiago Silva is because
he didn't play very well this year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He didn't, and also he didn't play. No, I'm going to say very much, but he was out a lot.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I get why they gave it to Thiago Silva because, you know, it's Thiago Silva, right? But for me, I saw those two players working hard. I saw those two players making plays. You know, once again, this is like saying, hey, choose the best taco, and you have to choose from Taco Bell or, you know, the gas station. I'm like, you know, it's like, okay, well, I choose this one. So anyway, those are my two. Happy for Thiago Silva. Excellent. I love him. He's one of my favorite players. But I just saw those two come up for us really big during the season several times.
Most improved.
Most improved. I was not on his bandwagon at the very beginning because I thought he sucked. Wesley Fofana. Fofana has established himself in our backfield. And in the past month and a half, 2 months, I've seen him make play after play after play. Yes, he makes mistakes. Give me, you know, give me 5 defenders who don't. You know what I mean? Like, give me 5 defenders who don't make mistakes. Wesley Fofana has, I think, grown on me. To the point where I'm like, I think he's an integral.
Not just who doesn't, sorry to interrupt, but not just who doesn't make mistakes, but who doesn't make mistakes in a team that is struggling for its identity.
Yes, yeah.
Right? We need to look at this through the lens of what Chelsea had to endure as a team. It's not going to be judged in the same way. You're not going to judge Chelsea on the same individual merits that you will Manchester City that's running like a Swiss watch.
Right, exactly. So that's why I choose Fofana.
Okay. I can get on board with that.
I see he's, you know, kind of been like, hey, okay, look, I'm going to be one of the constants back here. I've got this. You know, Kepa, don't worry if it comes to me. You know, once again, just in the past couple matches, he made a few mistakes. But overall, he's my most improved.
Okay. Let's see. Who absolutely has to go? And you've got way too many guys on your roster to begin with. So let's keep it to mainly we're talking first team players that have been playing on a regular basis. I'm not talking about guys that have been out on loan and let's cash in for $2 million. Like guys that should have been producing for you this year. Or are aging out, whatever. Like, give me your top 2-3 guys, because let's face it, there's talk of 11, 12 need to go.
Yeah, I've got 13.
Yeah,
but I'll give you my top 3. Well, top 3, and one that I really think is probably going to. Man City's looking at Kovacic right now.
We're looking at him too. He's
Okay.
been linked with
I
us.
mean,
I saw the article about City earlier, so I think it's going to be who can give him the better pitch.
Exactly,
quite frankly.
and I think Kovacic. You know what? Kovacic is one of my players, one of my solid players. I love him. I think it'd be good for him to go ahead and go. It is this. And here's my mantra: we have to sell and then buy.
Yes.
We cannot buy anymore. We have to sell. We got to sell people. Mm-hmm. And so here's my top 3. Number 1. Ugh. Do you know how much pain I feel right now?
Number 1.
Number 1, Christian Pulisic.
Okay.
Here's why I say it. I love me some Christian Pulisic. I want him to be successful. I want him to thrive. I want him to get reps. I want him to get minutes. I want him to get shots, assists, all that good stuff. And the only way he does that is if he's playing.
Yeah.
He's not – I don't think he's a Pochettino type of player. I'm not sure that that's who Pochettino's looking for.
Right.
And so – and plus – just by being through what he went through with Tuchel, and then now, what he went through with Potter and then Frank, and not getting the minutes and not playing and stuff like that, I think he's got to go.
Well, we talked at length the other day that, I obviously, as a fan of the game and also a U.S. fan, I love the guy. But I just don't think, I have no questions over his ability. I have questions about his durability.
Yep.
And if there's going to be question marks over his playing time, then it is time to move on.
Yep.
And he seems to be getting a lot of interest. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yep.
And hopefully wherever he lands, I think it's probably going to be Italy at this point. I think that's a good place.
That'd be a good place for him.
So, I'd be really excited about that.
Yeah. Number 2, I would say Mason Mount.
He's gone.
He's got to go.
We've been linked with him, and I don't see it.
I'm not quite there. I see him more with like Leeds has been relegated, but I see him more of like a, I don't know, maybe a Brighton type player.
Honestly,
could come in and help.
I think his ambition is going to be higher than that. No disrespect to what Brighton accomplished this season.
Not at all.
But English player looking to really demonstrate what he can do at a high level for a club that wants to be hungry. I'm going to say Newcastle.
Oh,
I'm going to say he could be a good fit
at
Newcastle. I think he's probably an upgrade on a guy like Miggy Almiron. Almiron's played well.
Yeah.
I think he's an upgrade on some of the guys that they've got there.
Sure.
And that's saying something since they, finished in 4th place.
Yeah.
We're in 3rd up until the, last game of the season. So
right.
I think he's going to have to work to force his way in. But I think Mason Mount, look, this time a year and a half ago, we were talking about this guy as a lock on the English national team and things of that nature. And now we're, kind of like selling him for spare parts. And I think that's unfair to guys a little bit. I know the game changes quick.
Yeah.
But I got to say that I think a club like that, I think he's ambitious.
Yeah.
Would be really, really good. Outside of England, I honestly, the way he plays, I could maybe see him going to Bayern, but I think he'd struggle for minutes there. But Bayern are kind of going through a transitional phase.
Yeah.
It seems like at least.
And still won.
It seems like Mane or.
How sweet would that be, though? Him helping deliver the ball to Mane.
Well, it seems like Mane's leaving because
is
of
he?
the whole. I can't remember Sané or Gnabry kind of fallout kind of thing. And
okay.
I guess there was more to it, but anyway, a guy who's going to be able to play. I think Mount can play a couple positions across that sort of 3 that play behind in.
Yeah.
The 9 there.
Yep.
I've seen him do well in the 10. I've seen him kicked out wide a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's sort of Phil Foden light, and probably needs to produce a little bit
Phil
more.
Foden light.
But if he goes to Newcastle, maybe that could be a rebirth for him.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Before I say the third one of the people on my list, I guess today or yesterday, it was announced that he's already gone. That's João Felix.
Well, he was only there on loan.
He's
so
on
it's
loan,
hard
so they're not going to, Poch said, hey, look, he's just going to kind of hang out until that's done, and then he'll go back. But the third player I have, we got to let him go, is Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah. Well, you showed him the door in the winter, and then went, oh well, I guess we'll.
Yeah, it's like no,
Yeah.
Ziyech wants to go, man. He wants to go, and I think that anybody that wants to go, it's okay. Let him go. What just happened?
Nothing.
What did you do? Oh, did someone walk through?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. I think he wants to. Anyone that wants to go, just let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no hard feelings, nothing like that.
No.
It's like, look, I get you've been through some shit during the past couple seasons. If this isn't for you, cool. So those are my top 3 that I think we just need to let go.
Alrighty.
We need to let go.
I no disagreement with any of those, and obviously this list could go on for. We could probably have an entire show on who Chelsea needs to get rid of and who would be good to bring them in.
Yeah.
But give me, a couple of guys that are realistic buys. Look, you're not allowed to say Pele. You're not allowed to say, prime Diego. You're not. You're probably not even allowed to say, look, Mbappe's not coming. Things like this. But guys that you say you look at in the international game and say, And here's the real struggle for you is, even though we have a blueprint from Pochettino and how he's performed in the past, now he's at a bigger club.
Yes.
He truly is.
Yes.
And he's going to have a slightly different mandate. We know Eric Ten Hag's blueprint. It's easier for me to say a little bit more to play footy manager and plug in this kind of guy because I understand what he wants out of this role.
Right.
We're still going to, there's a lot of question marks over how Chelsea's going to play next year, what kind of formation and strategy. But guys that could come in, Rama's coming back from loan.
Well, you kind of steered me where I was going to go there.
So let's go this route.
Okay.
Who are 3 guys that could come in and you say, I think they improve this team and make Chelsea work toward another trophy in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I only had 2, but if I have to say 3,
you don't have to.
Well, okay, I won't. They're both strikers.
Mm-hmm.
I think
you need goals.
Yeah, exactly. I think you take a look at Rom. I think you bring Rom back in. I think Rom can be, Lukaku can be a Pochettino type of player. I think that Poch is looking to, obviously solidify that spot. But here's an intriguing thing. Who did Poch manage when he was in the Premier League last time he was here?
Tottenham.
Is there a connection that could be made to a Harry Kane possibility to close out his career at Stamford Bridge?
I'm just
throwing it out there.
I appreciate what you're reaching for.
I know. It is a reach. It is a reach.
The pragmatic issue here is if Harry Kane leaves, he's going to a club that he believes can get him either a Premier League or a Champions League trophy in the next couple of seasons. He's 30, 31. This will be his, which is not past it in the modern game. I'm not saying it like everybody used to, but this is probably his last big contract.
Okay.
He's going to go to a club that the manager says, you're the missing piece. And Chelsea have a lot of missing pieces right now.
Right.
I'm not dissing.
No.
I'm saying bringing in Harry Kane would score you some goals.
Sure.
It doesn't solve the overall issue at Chelsea.
Sure.
Now, another striker does make sense because I don't think Rom's going to be able to handle the load for the entire season. Can Raheem step up at times and you can play multiple systems? It might be a time to go to a 4-4-2 and go big little kind of thing.
Can they be kind of like a Kane and Son? Can that happen?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So I don't know. Those are the things I was thinking of. As far as needs and people to bring in, there are a few I think that Chelsea's looking at. I didn't want to talk about it because it's still kind of speculative, but I think Poch is looking at solidifying that midfield.
You have to.
You have to. I mean, and here's the thing. I feel that Enzo is part of this equation.
I agree. I agree with that. He is one of the core players that I think now you build this team around.
You can build off of him.
I do.
And I think he and Gallagher are okay together. I think they're okay together there.
I think if you could upgrade on Gallagher,
maybe yes.
You need more of a. You need a Bruno. You need a guy who can unlock a defense and know that he's got somebody sitting next to him doing that little bit of dirty work. Not that Enzo can't play, but Enzo can't do that.
He can't do that.
I don't think he can quite do that role. So I think you're looking for somebody who's a little bit more expansive with their play.
Yeah.
And then Gallagher is good cover. I think if Conor Gallagher is starting a majority of games for Chelsea,
yes,
it says that you still need to improve.
Yeah.
Unless he can make a leap up. And I like Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
I was excited for him to come to Chelsea after the loan spell at Crystal Palace.
Yes.
I really liked him there.
Yes.
Guys have their
ceiling. They've got their
ceiling.
Yep. I think that can definitely take place. Hey.
Oh yeah.
Claire with gloves on.
Claire with.
Oh my.
Yeah.
It's
It's free prostate exam night at Chatham Tap Fishers.
Oh my, there you go. Yes.
Fresh off the boat from Scotland, folks.
Hey, hi-yo. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Chelsea segment.
Oh, hold on.
Oh man, I was hoping we would just kill our pain.
I have one more
right
question,
now.
and it's quick and easy. Give me the just comes right off the top of your head.
Yep.
Where's Chelsea going to finish next year?
7th.
All right, that's not bad. That's a Europa spot.
I think it's Europa.
Get you competing again.
Yep.
I don't have any issue with that. And I know everybody struggles is like top four.
No.
And yes, it's important, but I think there's something to be said for a team saying this is where we are. Let's get back to our identity by winning a different way.
We don't touch City. We don't touch Arsenal. We don't touch you guys. We don't touch Newcastle. Well, we can get close to Newcastle. We can kind of but we can get close to Brighton. I think that we can fight and we can get up to 7th.
There's a team in there.
Yes.
There's a team in there.
Yep.
And Pochettino has his work cut out to find it.
Yep.
But I do think he's a top-level manager.
Yes.
And at a minimum, he can get you back to winning ways. Can Pochettino win a title with you guys in 2 to 3 years? I don't know. But you know what? That's not his mandate right now.
No. Yes. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached halftime of our end-of-year show. And, just in time, I want to dedicate my halftime shot to the
Big
wonderful
Mikey.
world of Mikey.
Big Mikey.
There you go. Mikey has always been a friend of the pod. Just an incredible guy.
Just a good friend.
Just a good friend. And so, Mikey, just in 10 seconds, what's the good word for the day that you've got for us?
What you guys are listening to is two wonderful gentlemen, two wonderful friends, and they're irreplaceable in life. And I'm just very appreciative and amazed that I've been able to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mikey.
That guy right there. And you can vote for him for Fisher City Council. No, I'm just kidding. Mikey.
Library board.
To you, my friend.
To Mikey,
to
and
you.
I will simply add to all the great people here at Chatham Tap Fishers and all the Chatham Taps around town, but this is where they host us.
This is it.
You saw Claire, you saw JoJo, so many more folks, and just the cast of characters that are hanging out here. I highly recommend you get down here, get you some of their fantastic signature wings. As the scroll has been telling you, they will be open at 9:30 for the 10 a.m. kickoff of the FA Cup. There will be breakfast. It's delicious. And hope to see you here.
Yep.
Love you all.
They do crispy bacon, too. They don't do that.
Crispy bacon.
Hit it. All right. With an incredible run toward the middle and end of the season, the Red Devils made their mark on the EPL this year and said Ten Hag is here to stay. I am incredibly impressed. I am incredibly impressed with everything that has happened, with the huge balls that it took to say to possibly one of the greatest players of all time, you do not fit, you need to go. Erik Ten Hag has got this team humming. It has got them really excited to play football. And so, Aaron, I'm going to go down the list with you, my friend. Tell me who was your player of the season this year for Manchester United?
Wow. This is really, really difficult, and the fact that I know what the other questions are that are coming makes it a little easier, because I can give kind of spread the love here across a few people. But I'm going to say the player of the season was Casemiro.
Oh,
because the difference in that squad between when he was present and when he was not, and especially in those big games that he was missing for, you noticed it. And, I think there's an argument for a lot of players. I think you'd say David De Gea, in a lot of ways, has been back to some of his best. Yes, he had some high-profile mistakes.
Yeah.
Show me a goalie who doesn't.
Exactly.
Especially in a team in transition, but...
Yep.
Golden Glove winner again. By the way, also Mary Earps. We took both men's and women's Gold Gloves.
Lady Red Devils.
But I think the difference in the team when Casemiro was in the squad and when he was out is huge, and that experience and the mindset of a champion, somebody who's won it, somebody who's been there and done it, and the fact that he looked and literally said, I'm coming to Manchester United to fix that problem for you.
Yeah.
And you look at the other guys around him, and I think one of the big ways to judge a top level of player is what do they do to the other players around him.
Yep.
And he made Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes be able to play at the level they can. It gave Eriksen a free role. It pushed Bruno further forward. And I think that you can see a huge difference when that triumvirate is in the middle of the field. I won't say it doesn't matter who else is on the field. It absolutely does. We don't go that deep. But if you can start with a spine of David De Gea, Rafa Varane, Casemiro, and then you've got Eriksen and Bruno as your playmakers, I'm sorry. It's just, he's special and a winner, an absolute winner. We need to wrap him in absolute cotton and try to keep him healthy until we can find somebody else to come in and perform that role at the same level. But, I mean, he's just been magnificent.
Yeah.
And superlatives aren't enough. I think when Paul Scholes was talking about him earlier, and everybody referred, I'm quoting Paul Scholes, or at least paraphrasing, saying, I don't think he's necessarily just a holding midfielder, a defensive midfielder. Everybody talked about Toni Kroos and Luka Modric at Real Madrid, but I tell you what, if United bring in a guy who is truly a defensive midfielder, I think you're going to see a lot more out of Casemiro getting forward. Because think about some of the goals he's scored this year too.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to remark on. He scored 4 goals this season and 3 assists. And the interesting thing is,
and the
with
goals
Casemiro,
were ridiculous.
That's what I was getting ready to say. With Casemiro, I remember where I was at when he scored every single one of those goals. And so I love the fact that he picks his shot.
Well, I mean, the most recent one was easy. Sorry, buddy.
Let's move on, shall we?
A little bit of bants. A little bit of bants on the podcast tonight.
That's all right. That's all right, my friend. Yes. No. No, I absolutely get down with that, because he is the guy. You can tell it in his face too. You can tell it in his eyes. Like in his eyes, he's got it. So, most improved.
This guy was also in the running for my player of the season. But I really wanted to spread the love, and I also think he fits here because
Harry Maguire.
The last probably 18 months prior to the season for this guy were just horrible, and he was getting trashed online. He was getting criticized, and I gotta go with Marcus Rashford.
Oh, okay.
Because where he was this time a year and a half ago, right?
Rashy.
Where he was with injuries and all these things. And look, Rashy's the first guy to hit 30 goals in a season since Robin Van Persie did it for us in 12-13. You can tell that he looks confident. He gets the ball and he wants to run at people.
Yeah.
He's developed those free kicks.
Yep.
His crossing, his attitude, everything is just massively improved. And you could say that, you know, he was here and now he's kind of here, which isn't that much. But you got to remember, in the interim, he dropped down to here.
Okay.
His form dropped off, his mentality dropped off, his physical performance dropped off because of injury. He got asked to do so much over the course of those couple of seasons. And let's face it, the last couple of years have just been really, really difficult for the guy.
Yeah.
And then you add in his philanthropy and all the things he does off the field, which I'm not going to count as most improved because it's just who he is as a player. But when you look at him as a whole human being, and he's our Sam Obisanya.
I tell you, he this year 17 goals, 5 assists
In the league, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he's just been fantastic.
that is just absolutely amazing.
Well,
man.
and he's added other aspects of his game. He's scored some really brilliant headers, which wasn't a big part of who he was as a player.
Yeah.
He's playing multiple positions. He's playing that sort of wide left attacking role, and then we ask him to play through the middle because we don't have a true out-and-out striker when Martial is hurt.
Sure.
So I got to go with Marcus. He's my favorite current Manchester United player, and there's a lot. I got a lot of guys I'm really falling in love with this team in a way that I did originally. And what I've always loved about this club is, you know, Fergie built teams and then said it's time to tear this apart, and I'm going to build another one. And he did it at least 3 or 4 times while I've been a fan of this team.
You have one of the shirts on.
And yes, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm getting the feeling. And I've had these false dawns before. I've felt this way a couple times, but there's something about the way Ten Hag is going about this and the fact that he seems to have truly a bigger vision and understand. He seems to connect with what this club says it's about historically.
Yes.
And I'm loving it.
That's
and
exciting.
I'm looking at these players, and I'm looking at a guy like Lisandro Martinez dropping to his knees and celebrating like it's the World Cup final when we're beating, you know,
Chelsea
teams in the league, and I'm seeing guys who it looks like Casemiro and Bruno enjoy playing football together. Even when everybody's like, well, but Casemiro chewed out Bruno. You know what? That's what you do, when you enjoy playing with people, because you're like, no, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So I'm loving it. I'm liking really a lot of what I see. So Rashy's my guy.
That's awesome, man. That's absolutely awesome. All right. Does anybody need to go?
Yes.
Who needs to go?
Yeah, well, look, it'll come as no surprise, and I have defended him plenty, and I still think there's a good football in there, but Harry Maguire obviously needs to go.
Yeah.
He cost a lot of money. It's just a distraction at this point when your captain is not part of the squad. And here's the thing, people. He's going to go to another club, and he's probably going to return to that form that made him. Look, the price tag was inflated. United needed people, blah, 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 blah. But it's not a fluke that he plays this well for England. It's not a fluke that he continues to get called up by Jason Southgate.
Da.
There's a 2-part 30 for 30 on ESPN about American blood.
Woo.
I don't know if you guys heard what just was dropped. Like, it is breaking news.
By the way, real quick, I said Jason Southgate, which is a kid I played soccer with when I was like 14 years old, and he was our goalkeeper. I meant Gareth Southgate. But Jason, if you're out there listening, good on you, bro.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, on ESPN. There is a new American Gladiators documentary, 30 for 30 documentary. This is where you get all your news, all of your sports, all the sports ball comes right here. So anyway, yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah,
Harry's got to go.
I think Harry needs to go.
8 starts, 8 subs this season.
Unless this is going to be a big question mark for me, unless Ten Hag has truly identified a guy that he just can't live without.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say David De Gea, but if Ten Hag
Ooh.
said, this is the guy that I think that carries us forward and is the next goalkeeper for Manchester United and does the things that I'm asking of,
Yeah.
I could see him go. He's on a high wage, even though he's renegotiated his contract, and he's been a brilliant servant. But everybody moves on. No one's bigger than the club. And
Who takes his place?
I don't know, and that's
Okay.
why I'm saying this is a question mark.
Okay.
I'm not going to trade away possibly still one of the top 5 shot stoppers in the game
Exactly.
for somebody who might have slightly better feet. I'm just not going to do it yet. The next goalie Manchester United buys better be the complete package walking in the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We don't have time to learn it, because if that's the case, then let David De Gea learn what Eric Ten Hag wants. Can he do it? It seems he can't, but honestly, I don't think it's hurt us that much. And I think all the speculation is really bad for player psyches. So I'm going to move on, and I think Anthony Martial really needs to go.
Wow.
He's just not been able to stay healthy in this league. And again, I think like a guy like Christian Pulisic, there's a super talented player in there. There's no question to me that Anthony Martial is a top-tier striker.
Sure. 6 goals, 2 assists.
Well, I mean, that's not a great return. It really isn't.
It's not.
But it's because of
11
how
starts, though.
He's that's the thing. He's not fit enough. I have a feeling
Good point.
he's going to go
Good
back
point.
to France, and he's going to score 20, 25 goals next year. The bigger issue is, can we send Anthony Martial and some money to Paris, and Kylian Mbappe gets on a plane and comes to Manchester?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be intriguing to me, and far more intriguing to all this Neymar bullshit. I cannot believe in any way Eric Ten Hag wants Neymar. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I think that's just another situation that you don't need.
And then my third guy, I'm going to say Scott McTominay. And here's why. I don't have anything against Scott McTominay, but I think he's yet another in a long line of British Man U midfielders that show a lot of promise, and everybody wishes they're going to be the next Scholes or the next Keane, and they just are not.
Right.
But because of that British price tag, you're going to be able to move on Scott McTominay, and he's going to go to, maybe he goes to a Newcastle, because he's an upgrade on some of those guys there.
Sure.
Certainly a Villa or something like that.
Yeah.
And because of that sort of British price tag, you're going to get him. You're going to get extra money for him.
Sure.
I think Fred serves a purpose. I think Fred is good cover.
Okay.
And Fred is fine with it.
Yep.
Absolutely fine with it.
Okay.
So those would be my guys that I kind of think need to move on.
I think with every single one of those guys, you made a hell of a case, and I'm 100% behind that. Who needs to be brought in? Do you need anybody?
We need a striker.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any
have
ideas
to
about
have
who
a
you
striker.
like?
Well, I mean, everybody knows we've been linked with Harry Kane.
Sure.
First and foremost, I think it's realistic. I floated this earlier on Facebook, and I got a little pushback from people, and I thought their arguments really didn't hold a lot of water. But Alex Tellez played for Sevilla today.
Tellez, okay.
In the Europa League final.
Okay.
And he's played a bit for Sevilla this season, and I think it's hard to judge a guy, much like it's difficult to judge the players at Chelsea right now, given all the turmoil they've been through, right?
Right.
I think people deserve another chance to say, circumstances kind of got in the way here. Well, I think Tellez, had to endure kind of some crummy stuff. But everybody talks about how his presence was what pushed Luke Shaw to become this better player last season, and the player that we're seeing, Malacia, pushing him now. He needs that motivation. More importantly, what we learned is that all of a sudden Luke Shaw can actually play center back. He's perfectly competent at center back, which leads me to believe that, at least for the foreseeable future, we could bring back a Tellez, and then we've got 3 true left-sided players in Shaw, Tellez, and Malacia.
Yeah.
Brennan Williams can go.
Okay.
We're good on the right. I would like to improve the right wing, but I do think it's more important right now with what we have, what we do as a team. We got to score some goals. And I think focusing on a Harry Kane or a Victor Osimhen would be much better use of resources. If we're going to spend upwards of 100, 120 million on somebody, let's get a proven goal scorer. Let's get somebody who knows the league in Harry Kane, or is young and hungry like Victor Osman. And I look at that and I say, we'll have a starting front of Rashford, Harry Kane, Anthony, Fernandez, and then you've got Sancho to come in. You've got Garnacho to come in. You got Pellistri to come in. I'm not worried about that, but we don't have the tip of the spear right now.
Right.
And I think we do need to put our eggs in a basket and go after two big names. And I would say go after Harry Kane and go after Jude Bellingham.
Oh,
Jude Bellingham was voted Player of the Year in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
And he's, 19 years old?
Yeah, that kid's a real...
Splash the cash, folks.
Yeah.
I don't care if... I swear to you, no other signings whatsoever. But if we spent, let's say that cost $250. Let's say they're both $125 to bring those guys in.
Okay.
$250. We don't really have that, except for this. Harry Maguire is going to go for $40 because of the English tax.
Yeah.
Scott McTominay is going to go for probably $25 or $30 because of the British tax. I'll give him he's Scottish.
Okay.
Now we've only spent.
Yeah. No.
Now we've spent within budget.
Yeah.
So I think there's math here. Some people were like, oh, Telish doesn't play all that much for Sevilla and all this. And I'm like, I don't know, 26 appearances in the league, 11 appearances in the UEFA, called up for the Brazil World Cup squad. I mean, look, if your argument is you don't think he can play in the Premier League, then I'm okay. I get that. There's something to be said. There are a lot of top-level players that each league doesn't suit them.
Right.
Right, there are certain leagues that you're just not going to be able to do it again. I got to be honest. I love Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
I don't think that dude would do real well in the Premier League.
I don't think so either.
Especially at this age.
Nope.
Maybe when he was 25.
Yep.
But you got to take people as they are. So I'm going to say that that would be my focus. If Kylian Mbappe can be got, but with the wage structure and everything that we're implementing right now, I think that's a bridge too far, and I'm just not sure we need it. I'd rather go after two big names and whatever money's left over, throw at a young kid and say you're covered. Yeah. Like we did Malacia. Malacia is not quite ready,
right?
But there's a player in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's something to be said. So
man, I tell you what, you've just taken us through this, and it's really good. But here's my last one. Prediction for this next year, my friend. And sky is the limit for Man U right now.
So we've managed to finish third, which if they changed the rules and sort of all the different little nuances. It's seemingly every other year. But I think third, rather than fourth, kind of puts you in that sort of better grouping.
Oh yeah.
For the Champions League.
Yeah.
So I do think it was good that we did leapfrog right there at the end into the this season. I think that's positive for us. So I'm gonna say that finish within 10 points in second place of City next year.
Okay.
And get to the Champions League quarters.
Ooh.
Is good for us.
Man, that's going to be great.
I think it's realistic. I don't think I'm being crazy. I think it's there, especially if we get the upgrades that we want.
Yeah.
It's still a team in transition, so I think saying we're going to win all this stuff, but I think we're going to push City. I think it's unrealistic to think we're going to be able to overtake them just yet, but they know we're coming for them.
Yeah.
Next year's going to be interesting because I think Liverpool's going to retool. Jurgen Klopp's going to be there.
Newcastle's going to want to stay.
Newcastle's throwing their hat in the mix.
They're like, hey.
Well, look, Unai Emery took Aston Villa from near relegation to the top half. I could see them getting into the mix. I'm not saying they're going to finish top four. I'm saying they're going to cause problems. Look, Manchester United did not win away at any of the top 9 teams. That said, similar statistics can be read aloud for City and Arsenal.
Yeah.
So you look at tendencies and what teams do. I think next season's going to be very, very interesting with who pushes who.
I think so.
And I'm liking the way we match up with people. And I think a second place finish, a cup final, another cup final.
Yeah.
And you know, I think quarters of the Champions League is realistic.
Okay.
Definitely get out of the group stage, win that first one, and then you know it's all about matchups. So if all of a sudden you run into, you know, a red hot Real Madrid or a Bayern team, you got to say we're maybe not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm speaking out of turn by saying those are realistic finishes next year.
But here's the thing. I think that next year for Man U, I'm not sure you say that we're not quite there yet. I think that you say, hey, we had an off game. We had an off match. And because I really do think that the talent that Man U has is incredibly good friend of the pod, out. Are you out?
Bye, Abdabs.
Bye. I think that you guys have a lot more going in that direction. I think that you can legitimately say, we just had an off day because we can beat these guys. I think you can even say that with City.
I think we can say it in a lot of ways now, and it'll just be better next year.
Yeah.
But an awful lot of things would have to, like, we would need a similar repeat of this season of how quickly things gelled amongst certain players to really put ourselves in a position to say we're going to win the Premier League, we're going to win the Champions League, or we're at least going to get to the final, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I want to be a fan and be excited about what I think is happening here.
Yeah.
And I really am. But I also want to be sort of realistic and temper it and say, no, I'm not going to be mad if this time next year I'm still saying, look, City is City.
Sure.
That's something special.
Sure.
Also, real quick, let me just do a little something here.
Okay.
Because I think it's important. But I want to remind everybody, United do have one more game.
Yes.
Against Manchester City this weekend in the FA Cup. And I did just turn off the crawl that told you what time we're open, but it's 9:30
There's a
for
reason.
a 10 o'clock game.
I know where you're going. Where you're going.
For those who aren't quite sure, this is what a treble-winning side looks like. And this is the only English team to do it. So until 2 weeks from now, that will remain the case.
Come on,
And
enter. Come on, enter.
I guarantee you right now there's a whole bunch of City fans going, damn it, we got to play these guys to win this trophy.
And here's
and then you got to turn around, and if you beat us, and maybe you will, and honestly, based on statistics and form, you probably should.
Who knows?
But this is like IU Purdue in the middle of any season, man. It's a rivalry, and it can go anywhere.
Yep.
But Inter didn't trip over itself to get to the Champions League final.
Yes. And I'm excited about that.
How would you like to have Champions League winner Romelu Lukaku come back to Chelsea and say, this is how we win, boys?
That's exactly where I was going with this. I'm like, you know what? If you give Big Rom the opportunity, I would love to see that happen. I'd love to see that happen. Think about the matchup. Haaland, Lukaku. Oh, my goodness.
They should have to mark each other on corners.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That is the end of the segment. I have just one thing left to throw out, ladies and gentlemen.
We're totally not getting on Instagram.
We're not getting on Instagram. We're not getting on the gram tonight. And I really don't give a shit. We're going to be back.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be back.
Yes.
And I'm excited about the possibility of doing a shorter show for one of our area universities.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this.
To employ our services. When I say employ.
Less profanity and alcohol.
Yeah. Well, they are Catholics. So anyway,
more profanity and alcohol.
Exactly.
And the occasional diddling.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, I hope they don't watch our show.
Anyway.
We got to negotiate Aaron's filter.
Yeah, we got to negotiate the filter. But anyway, we are excited about the places that we are going, the things we're going to be doing. But I've got to end this show this way because we always do, and it's Aaron's final thought. Man, I got to direct your final thought, though. This nation is literally imploding when it comes to politics. We are, hopefully going to barely avoid government a default on our debt. We are now battling in this county. I will just say it, Christian nationalists who are trying to ban books that are promoting healthy sexual practices for teenagers. It's just a mess. I just want to know, man, just can you send us off with something to think about whenever we think about all the stuff that's going on in our country? I just got back from Europe, and I want to move there, but I know that, I'm needed here. Give us some encouragement, brother.
Well, I had a couple things I wanted to
or you can do
address.
that.
No. But I've been thinking about how to tie this all together. So bear with me on the journey. Today is May 31st. It's the 102nd anniversary, which seems like a shitty word to use for something so terrible, of the Tulsa Massacre, of what was known at the time Black Wall Street. Most of us didn't learn about it in school because of what we're seeing going on right now. And it's hugely important and in how it shaped this nation and why people believe some of the things they believe. And the fact that we're trying to ban books, we're trying to ban a graduate level college course that isn't taught anywhere in this country to that specificity. Just illustrates the work that still needs to be done. And if you don't want, if you want your kids to learn more and know about these things, and this isn't about shaming, right? This isn't about saying we're bad people. Right. This is about saying this is something that occurred in our past, and the only way to move forward is to acknowledge it and say it happened, and we don't think it should happen again. Tomorrow is June 1st, and it begins Pride Month. And yet another group of people who have been systematically marginalized, harmed, told they don't matter, trans people, gay people, consistently told that they are less than, in much the same way that people of color have been, women have been, basically anybody who doesn't look just like me. And this is what we're fighting against. This is why we go to these school board meetings. And you go to one of these school board meetings and you see people getting in each other's faces over lies, over things that aren't true, because they believe a group of people who, quite frankly, just take advantage of them and say, you're misinformed and I'm going to manipulate your thought. And that's where we are. Yeah. So we must do better. And I will wrap this up in a weird way, and I promise no spoilers. But Ted Lasso ended last night. And what started out as kind of a funny caricature and parody of how an American Midwestern coach might find himself dealing with international football in England and the sort of cultural foibles and misunderstandings that come along with that. And by the way, the whole show's based, or at least the first season's based on Major League, which is based on a ton of other things. So there's that. But as this show went on and matured and understood itself, it addressed what it means to be an out gay athlete in this world. It addressed what it meant to be a black athlete in this world. It addressed what it meant to be an attractive young woman fighting to make her place in the world. It addressed what it meant for an older, still attractive, but older, wealthy woman in this world. And I know a lot of people from a ton of different backgrounds watched this show and said, "This is awesome. I loved it. It made me cry." Well, if it did, ask yourself why it made you cry, and then vote accordingly. Hashtag say gay.
Hashtag black people vote.
Folks, we're probably going to take a couple weeks off. It's summertime. I'm going on vacation. Got things to do, but we will be back. There will be another season. Be excited. Might pop up with a couple things here and there during the Women's World Cup, or especially if United knock off City next week. You might be getting a little bit of drunk Aaron. But we will be back. There's good things coming.
Yes.
Engage with us on all of our platforms. We're here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. You can catch us on Spotify,
Yes.
which has taken over Anchor. We're trying to get us onto the Apple. And we're on Instagram when we don't go over an hour. But you won't find us there tonight. But folks, we love you tuning in. If you see something, say something. And we love you. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace out, everyone. Take care. We'll see you again at the start of the next Premier League season. This is the Evan and Aaron Show. Presents the Red and the Blue Soccer Chat, signing out.